Ray Lee with Speedboat Magazine here with yet another episode of the Boats and Bros podcast with my bro, world champion, national champion, Myrick Coil. And we have the director of sales and marketing of Sunsation Powerboats in Michigan, Mr. Ryan Wenk. Ryan, how's it going?
Great, guys. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
No, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, man.
Boy, you guys are on fire.
In a good way?
In a good way.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I like to think so, but it's always nice to get that reassurance from somebody like yourself.
No
Yeah.
question. I mean, you guys are building boats nonstop. And tell us about what's going on out there in Algonac.
Well, in Algonac, there's not a ton going on ever, honestly, and it's it's cold outside, and boating season's over, and it hasn't gotten snowy and icy yet. It's getting there, but we haven't gotten there. So Algonac, not a ton. Sensation is as busy as ever. We're about to hit a record year for boats produced on the center console lineup this year. And our projections look like we're going to do the same next year and hopefully grow those numbers going forward. So along with that comes a lot of chaos and a lot of fun along the way too, though, as you guys know.
Yeah.
How many boats do you produce a year?
Right now, we are on track for 43 to 44 this year. Again, back in the day when the guys were doing like the sport boats and whatnot, they were pumping out crazy numbers of those. They had the process and the procedures dialed in. But yeah, I mean, coming out of COVID and everything, obviously we had a huge boost with COVID, and we were just kind of continuing to ride that wave. And right now we're looking at, again, 43 to 44 boats for next year. And then, with some big things coming up on the horizon that I'm sure we're going to talk about, we'll hopefully pump those numbers up another 8, 10, 12 boats in the next couple of years.
That's outstanding. And Sensation has gone away from the sport boats and directed your attention on the center consoles with the 32 CCX, the 34 CCX, and the 40 CCX. And the 32 CCX is by far your biggest seller.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that boat is just absolutely dialed in. I mean, for so many different reasons, but, it's inspired and built from the 32 Dominator sport boat that we built a ton of back in the day. Obviously made some slight modifications, turned it into a center console, and absolutely has been crushing it. We just popped out number 200 not that long ago, and that boat is currently at paint, hopefully returning for rigging in the next week. But yeah, I mean, the center console lineup itself has just continued to crush it. And, overall, it's the biggest advantage this company has had, the biggest opportunity they've jumped on probably ever. I don't know if this company would exist if they were still trying to build the sport boats like a lot of other companies kind of faded away after a while.
Yeah, I mean, you think about all of them back in the day. Baja was a huge competitor of yours, and they're still. I don't even know if you can get a Baja anymore, but I know that they definitely don't have a presence like Sensation does anymore. So.
Yeah, it's crazy it's crazy to see that. I grew up in Algonac my whole life, and I drove by this factory every day going to school. Back then, we just called them cigarette boats. I didn't know really what they were, and I didn't grow up in the powerboating community, so it was a cigarette boat factory in my head. But looking back at it now, and like the reality of being here and seeing the boats being built, and looking back at where they came from and who was around back then and who is not around anymore, I give Joe and the guys credit, Joe, Wayne, Kyle, everybody credit, because in some ways it's amazing this company still exists. And it's cool to look forward and see what potential struggles we might have in the economy, in the industry, in any format, and know that whatever Joe and those guys got through in the first 40 years, we can definitely overcome whatever's coming in the next 40 years.
Yeah. Of course, you're talking about the Schaldenbrand brothers that started Sensation, and what a mark they've left on the industry. Tell us about the history of the Schaldenbrands and Sunsation Powerboats.
Man, the stories go way back, and I heard about these guys when I was a kid growing up here. My mom was a bartender and knew of them, and had served them from time to time, and saw them come in on boats. And really, I mean, I think it obviously all started with Wayne originally. Wayne is the true gearhead. He's the true passion behind what started and drove this company forward in the early days. Joe and him worked together at Cherokee, which was another local boat builder. I do believe Wayne worked at other boat builders because there used to be a ton around here. And most of those have, again, since faded away. So Joe and Wayne started.
That's a good question. Is there any other boat builders around there now?
I mean, we've got Skater on the other side of the state.
Yeah, but not
pretty
there
much
locally.
It, man. You got some pontoon companies up north. You got a lot of wood boat style stuff. I mean, Chris Craft's not here anymore, but it was born here and originated here in this town. It's like in the same building Sensation was in when we started, in theory. But not a ton of boat builders out here, man. And it makes a lot of things hard. Hiring and recruiting is hard to find talent. But when you find a good person, you lock them down and you got them for life, because there's not a lot of places around here to take those talents. And we try to, cultivate all of those people. So yeah, those guys started off building boats early on. I do believe there was a fire or something at Cherokee. I've seen old photos of it and photo albums laying around here. There was a fire, destroyed the factory. At some point around that time, Joe and Wayne decided they wanted to go build their own boat, and Wayne had already been playing around with fiberglass long before that. We have a wakeboard up in the front office that was the first anything he created out of glass. So it's kind of a cool historic piece. And, the rest is really history from there. The guys had a lot of ups and downs, like other companies. It was a expensive hobby for them for a long time. And, over the years, as they developed new models and iterations and started to push themselves and try to compete in the market against Baja and all the companies back then, they found little wins here and there. And Joe being the business guy, Wayne being the boat builder guy, they were able to make it work for a very, very long time and push this company forward. And like I said, we hit our 40th anniversary just a couple of years ago. So I do believe this is the 42nd year in business, pushing 43. And we have nothing but good things on the horizon right now. And it's all thanks to those guys.
Yeah. And that's a long time it's not like their dad started it, it's single generation, and to say that, and they're still there. I know that they're not every day, but probably a lot still.
Yeah, definitely. They're quite involved, and Wayne's gotten more involved since I've been here, which has just been under a few years now, full time. He has his place, his workshop. He's always working on something. The dude is never not wrenching on a boat or a snowmobile or a car or some toy. It's just his true passion. And as much as you would be surprised, Joe is in here every single day. He's focused on really high level things now, putting up the new building, things like that. But he's still very, very engaged and a huge mentor for me and helping teach me what he did for 40 years so that I can pick it up and carry it going forward and help these guys here.
Yeah. How long have you been with Sensation?
So I've been working here full time almost 3 years now. Before I worked here full time, I kind of worked with Sensation on more of like a consultation basis, I guess, doing marketing. I redid their website years ago. Just kind of marketing projects really is what got my foot in the door with these guys originally.
Yeah, because I remember a few years ago, shortly after you started, we came to you at the Miami Boat Show, and Joe pushed you out in front and had you do the interview with us. So he has a lot of trust in you.
Yeah, it's kind of a full circle thing for me in life. I grew up here. I grew up boating. I grew up not necessarily performance boating, but on the water all the time. I just grew up around the water and always knew that I loved it, but never really thought I'd find a career in it. And I moved away from Algonac for close to 10 years when I was in college and starting my career. And I moved all over the state, all the way up to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and somehow found my way back down here and found an opportunity with these guys. And I often wake up every day and I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I got myself into here? And, but very grateful for the opportunity. And Joe's been nothing but helpful and awesome for teaching me, pushing me, challenging me for sure. And helping me make this place a better place for everybody.
Yeah,
definitely a great mentor. That's for sure, in business and life and all that. He's such a good dude.
Yeah. And I'd say, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, I was talking with Joe at the Miami Boat Show, and he was telling me, he's like, you guys need to start focusing on the big center consoles that we're starting to produce. And that was, back then, we were pretty resistant to it because I'm like, oh, come on, that's a fishing boat. And I got to say, Joe was definitely one of the first ones, one of the pioneers that's pushing the center consoles as a performance boat. And then so much so that you guys have done away with the sport boats and focused only on the center consoles.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that story a bunch of different ways over the last few years from different people in the industry, and how we got started and what made the turn. And honestly, I don't really care what it was that made them push it over the edge and go this route. I'm just happy they did. It was probably very difficult, as we've seen a lot of other boat companies that, you know, they stay true to their passion and they don't care what sells. They just care what they like to build. And we definitely had a lot
of. I had to get Wayne in a headlock or something like that.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, I'm sitting here next to a 34 CCX that's rigged out with a bunch of fishing gear on it, and Wayne walks in and just looks at it, and he's like, "What do we do? Why? What is that?" But they know what sells, and they know what the market wants, and ultimately, if they're passionate about the product, they have to be passionate about the company and the people working here, and obviously make the best choices that they can to keep the lights on, keep the people employed, and keep the boats coming out. So again, most of the guys here, if you asked any person in this shop, similar to like your shop, Myrick, like most of these guys would probably rather ride on a sport boat of some kind, would love to see us build it. And I get calls literally almost every day of people who either don't know we don't build those boats anymore, or they're asking us to build them. And I just kind of giggle, and I'm like, you give me the deposit, send it in, and we'll build it. But nobody will actually buy these boats from us that much anymore. So who knows what the future will bring. I think that there's definitely still a market for those types of boats, but you can't deny the success of the 32 and the 34 and the 4 and center consoles in general. It's just, it works too well.
I can remember with the last, I think it's the last performance boat that we had bought from you guys. It was a 36 with 565s, and I was in love with this thing, but it took like 8 months to sell it. You know, and it was one of those things that's like, God, this thing is so cool. It was faster than the outer limits of its competitor, and everything about it. I loved it. And the guy who bought it is still in love with it, but it's just like this thing. It's you put a 32 CCX and it's sold before that it hit the floor. And this other one is sitting here for, months trying to sell. And it just goes to show what the masses want, or like you said, what everybody wants is what you got to do, or you're going to be, I don't know what I'd be doing, be pouring concrete or something.
Exist. I mean, I wouldn't have a job. This community here wouldn't have a lot, 50 people employed at it. And again, it's like, we'd love to build those boats, and who's to say we don't in the future? Maybe the market takes a turn, or there's a new engine motor that comes out, but
there's no guarantee, right?
There's no guarantee. We don't know what the future is going to bring. I'm just happy we're here right now.
But beyond that, you guys are constantly evolving the boat. I mean, we've seen so many different iterations of the boat from when it was debuted to today. Even just a few months since we've seen, say, a 32 CCX to one we see now. You guys are constantly like adding cool features. And Myrick has said, it takes boaters to see that kind of forethought to integrate that into the build process. Talk to that a little bit.
I mean, Myrick, you're spot on. I listened to that last podcast with Mark, and you guys are spot on with it. It's amazing. Number one, our relationship with our dealers, primarily Performance Boat Center right now at this point in time, has been invaluable, man. Like every time we're with these guys, whether they're showing us something cool that somebody else did on a boat, or they're asking us a question, or just throwing a random idea out there, there's always something new to do. And from my end on the sales side, when I first started here during COVID, the price is everything up, right? Yeah. And our rate of innovation, just in my opinion, was not keeping up with how the prices were increasing. So now we've kind of hit this point in time where the economy is settled, things are settled, we're out of the COVID wave, and we're pushing hard, man. Like every boat 203 versus boat 193, it's the same boat or same running surface, same engine package, but look inside the boat and you're going to find a lot of differences, whether it's fit, finish, features, amenities.
Yeah. We have some customers that have owned three. It's not often, but 3 32s, and I know a lot of customers that have owned 2 32s because they'll see a seat design change, or they'll see a little door that goes to the garbage can underneath the seat, or they'll say, oh, now the head's better, or, all that kind of stuff that adds up. But one of the things that I wanted to mention while we were on here about the innovation is when we got our 40 CCX, is when I was climbing around in the rigging in it with all these lithium batteries and all this electrical, because that's what 90% of it is electrical. Because we don't have hoses. We do have hoses for like the air conditioning system and little sea strainers and stuff like that for air, basically air conditioning and some stuff on board. But when you go inside this and all of the cool things they've made, from battery holders to a lot of the BEP battery systems that you're using now, and monitors downstairs for the inverters. It is a work of art when you climb in one of these boats. And I was literally in there, and I mean, it takes a lot for me to get excited. And there's a lot of, you might not see a salesman or somebody going down and showing, but I'm like recording all that, like, look at this, how badass it is. And all of their ADELs are perfect with all the cables in it and everything, by each battery, there's like a CNC machine has cut what that battery does, and so it's neat to watch not only the boat building process, but the boat rigging process is how good it is. So it's,
I'm happy
right up there with the best.
You said that. I'm happy you said that, because number one, whenever we're at a boat show, poker run, anything, like, I'm just a guy that Joe trusts to come represent the company and hit it off with new customers and current customers, right? I rarely am out here in the shop. And when I am, it's more just communicating with the guys. I don't lay hands on these boats, but I know every guy that, I know exactly the guy that rigged that boat, that 40. And he takes so much damn pride in how he did that. And I love giving him that feedback. And I'm happy we're going to have it recorded here so I can show him how well people speak to it.
What's his name?
Boats and Bros.
Johnny Schaldenbrand. He's one of the Schaldenbrands. He's a member of the family that started the company, and he takes a lot of passion in his work. He did rigging.
I know Johnny well. Love Johnny.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the guys love hearing that, Myrick. And again, they do take a lot of pride. We're not perfect, but I watch these guys work, and they put so much time and effort and precision into what they do. And every boat, it's showing. Every boat's getting a little bit better in some way, shape, or form.
Well, because on the flip side of that, it's so easy to just conceal it, right? And do a half-assed job and conceal it.
Or have a panel, or make it hard to where you can't see. That's one thing that when I do work on it, I'm lucky to get to work on some really badass boats. But, MTI is definitely a great one, but Sunsation is also a great one when there comes to their rigging. Just the same. You climb in there and it's like, man, the amount of time that it has to take to do this is mind blowing. So, and basically got some guy lived in that bilge for a couple months or a month to do this. And this is what came out of it. So it's neat. Not every, and a lot of customers might not ever climb down in that bilge ever, but for the guys that do go down there, it's like, man, this is cool. I can figure it out. If something does break, it's easier to figure out, and it just isn't a wad of wires basically. But it's cool.
Yeah.
Well, your lineup is the 32, the 34, and the 40, all dubbed CCX. Explain to the people that don't know what CCX is.
Oh man, what is that acronym nowadays? Center Console Extreme is what I believe it started as. Joe had this vision in his head, just like you said, Ray, when you talked to him however long ago, 10 so years ago, about, hey, I'm going to bring a center console to the market. And you're like, what, a fishing boat? Like, why would you do that? He always, from day one, had a vision. I mean, none of these guys are fishermen. They might throw a rod in their hand and drink a couple beers, but they don't take it seriously. And from day one, Joe had this vision in his head where he didn't want to call it a center console. He wanted to call it a sport console. That was always his mindset, was that this is a performance boat in a center console format, right? And, I love it because, and I grew up fishing. Like, I love fishing. I don't do it nearly as often anymore, but I grew up in a world where the only center consoles you saw were Boston whalers, pretty much, things like that in this area. And now working here and having conversations with customers, and especially the guys who don't know a boat like this exists, the random guy in South Carolina who only sees Tidewaters and whalers and those types of boats. And then he sees our boat and he's blown away. And then he calls me and he's like, never heard of you guys. Where have you been? And I'm like, we've been around for 40 years, man. Where have you been? And just introducing people to what the potential is. There's a lot of people that compromise what they're looking for in a boat and just get a wakeboard boat or just get a fishing boat, and they're still spending $300,000-$400,000 on these things. within a good reach is a 32 CCX, and you get all the performance, all the amenities, the style, the intentional design. And we only build 30 of them a year. They're nowhere near saturated. You can't, the biggest place they are is at Ozarks. And, that's obviously thanks to PBC, but anywhere else you go, they're still a pretty uncommon boat.
Yeah. I know I got to say the St. Peter's have one that we actually did with jack plates and change rotation and special props and all this. And it was $400. And I think we got to 83 miles an hour or something like that. It is literally a fishing boat right now. They moved to Florida, live there full time, and they're constantly sending pictures of I'm like, you guys, that isn't really a fishing boat. And they're like, oh, well, yeah, it is, because we catch fish out of it all the time. And it's funny. Then they're like, we can outrun all of our buddies because they go out to these wrecks or whatever, wherever they go to fish.
Right.
And then so they get to know people, and because they're a very talkative couple. And then they then they whip their ass coming back, and it's cool. And I don't even know how many hours it got to be on that thing, but it's got to be a lot. They bought it years ago.
I'm kind of like the proponent of the boat is what you make it. If you want to go fast and you want to run it hard, it's a performance boat. If you want to cruise, it's a cruising boat. If you want to fish, you can do it. I wouldn't want to put fish on this interior that we have in here, but we actually we just finished a 34 CCX that is by far our most tricked out fishing boat, fishing boat that we've ever done. And it's going to go to Cabo, and it's going to spend its life down there and, be used for fishing down there just for fun for one of our customers from Havasu. And when he called me to buy the boat, I talked to him for probably a month on and off before he decided to talk to a dealer and put an order in. And I tried multiple times to tell him, I said, Mark, this is not a fishing boat. There's dealers out there that have fishing boats. I don't want you to be disappointed. We will build a badass boat, but we're not fishermen, man. At the end of the day, you got to remember that. And he just said, hey, I want it mostly for performance and, cruising. I just want to be able to fish when I want to. So we built it. It's got rod holders, outriggers, all that stuff. Again, Wayne and these gearheads walk in and they're like, what are we doing here, Ryan? What is the sales guy over here selling? But, we got to try some new stuff, and to turn away a market of people that size is just foolish. Do I think we're going to build fishing boats for it? No, absolutely not. We're going to build performance boats, but performance, center consoles, that is. Yeah. Somebody wants it, we'll build it.
Yeah. Literally, you put a better transducer and some rocket launchers and some, maybe a bait box or whatever, and then it's a fishing boat. I mean, heck, we had the Jimmy John's race boat out, and we put a trolling motor on the front of it, and we turned that into a fishing boat, and just like that, right? You make one cast off of it, it's a fishing boat. But you got fishing kayaks now, so never thought you'd see that.
Yeah. So. Well, another acronym for CCX, from what I understood, was Center Cabin Extreme, because your cabins are so deep. For guys like Myrick and I, not so much of a big deal, but you, as tall as a tree, you have headroom down there.
The 34 and the 40 is huge.
Yeah, it's something that it's cool. When we go to it happens a lot at I guess maybe boat shows or street parties where we're displaying the boat, but a lot of people walk up on the little catwalk or the stairs and they'll poke their head around and they're like, what's under there? And we're like, that's a cabin. They're like, really? How big? And we're like, get on the boat and look at it. And they get down there and they're just blown away. And now we've added, porcelain head, you can do refrigerators, and you can do AC units and everything. And the cabin is one area of the boat we want to put a little more intentional design into this year and kind of just try to freshen it up. And we know people don't go down there and they're not staying overnight all the time on these boats, but it's kind of one of those things where it's such a big footprint of the boat, you have to continue to innovate it and, change what's in there. So, but yeah, it's a huge selling point for us on our boats, and most people can't even tell they're there. Honestly, it's crazy.
Well, on the flip side of that, instead of going down and deep, you are one of the few manufacturers that promote going on top of the boat.
Yeah. I just cannot believe this option has not been stolen from us yet.
Right.
It's something where, when you're talking about a center console, you didn't have a lot of layout space on a sport boat, but a lot of times you had a hatch or a sun pad to lay on, right? On a center console, you lose pretty much all of that. And for us let me call out Dave Moriarty, our lead designer and engineer here at Sensation, has been with the company a very long time. He and the guys here put so much time and effort into designing this boat. And I mean, number one, the styling of our hardtop can't be touched. It's not a sheet of wood on top of our boat, and it's not just sanded down with round edges. There's a lot of intention and structure and thought that goes into that. And the fact that it's a utility space, you have an extra X amount of feet that you can use, your kids can jump off of, you can lay out there, you can get a good look, you can stand up there and get a nice video. The uses are endless. But if we're playing by the rules, make sure you follow the sticker on the hardtop, which says it's boarding's for only service only. So,
yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, if you're following the rules. I've been going up the river there to what's the top Topak in Havasu. We were going through the idle zone, and it's hot, in Havasu, and the girls in the 40 get up on the top, and I mean, you literally look around at the other boats, and then like everybody's hitting each other on the shoulder, like aiming over, like, look at that. That's so cool that they're sitting up there like that. And the girls loved it too. So you just got to follow the rules. That's right.
Yeah, it's something that I don't think, even if somebody took it and tried to do it, which, let's be honest, how many options in this industry were inspired by one company, redesigned, re-innovated, whatever it happens, we get it. But, even when we see people on their hardtops, like on any other brand of boat, and you could just tell they just climb their way up there, we just kind of go, we're like, you're not supposed to be there. It wasn't designed for that. There's no sea deck up there. There's no handles. There's no cup holders.
Yeah.
And it's nice because you can even throw radar up there, and you can throw all these different options on the top, and you still really don't lose any space because of how we design everything on the hardtop. So just an awesome feature, man. It's something that stands out. I can call out a Sensation from about as far as I can see simply by looking at the hardtop and know it's one of our boats.
Yeah. They are sexy. The whole design behind them and how that front looks a little lower, and it's a good look, especially when the boat's idling around. It looks like it's like an aggressive attitude.
Yeah,
it is, man.
So 40 years, what a milestone! And you guys celebrated by having your first annual Sun Run, where you invited all of the Sensation owners. Tell us about that.
Man, so back in the day, I've only seen pictures and heard stories. I was never there. I was probably in freaking elementary school when they were doing this back in the 90s. But these guys would throw these things called Sensation rallies, owners rallies, right? And I only ever heard about them. And from what I heard, they were rough around the edges. They were, rowdy. They were just big boat party. And they did that for a long time. They had these events every year. And I can't say exactly when they stopped doing it, but if I had to guess, it's going to be somewhere right around 2006, 2008, somewhere in there. That was probably the last one they did. So it had been over 10, 12 years since the guys had hosted a customer appreciation event. And it makes sense. During that time, they were building new boats, a whole new model, transitioning from one segment of customers to another. But when we hit that 40th anniversary, we kind of talked about it, and we're like, we got this new facility, or we expanded into the rigging shop here that year, and we were like, we got to do something special. What are we going to do? Well, let's hold an owners event. Let's hold it. And Brad DiMaggio was here at the time, and he kind of said, let's call it the Sun Run. And I was like, let's do it. It's perfect. We did that. We hosted our first event. We had a good turnout. Probably 60 some boats came for an open house here one day, and then we did the fun run the next day. And then this year it was kind of on me and some of the guys here to plan the event, and we said, well, how are we going to do it bigger and better? This being in 2023, and we said, what do we like about every other boating event that we don't have? And it kind of came down to a street party. We love Boyne Thunder, we love the Ozark Shootout, the street party in Havasu, like just amazing ways to get your community engaged. And because we're a local boat builder, we were like, that's what we have to do. So this year we had a 3-day event. We hosted a street party on Thursday from like 12 until noon until 10 o'clock. Had I don't even remember how many boats. I'm going to guess like 120 boats out there on the streets, blocked off everything, invited the whole community out, absolutely flooded the restaurants downtown and pumped business to them. And just kind of introduced our hometown to all of our customers and their crew that was with them. Absolute smashing success on the street party. The following day on Friday, we did a fun run. I think the total number of boats officially in that was like 119 that actually came out for that. For us, I don't know for a fact, but I've been told it's one of the biggest manufacturer held events that exists. And we just want to continue to crush that number. So we did the fun run on Friday, and then the following Saturday, we did kind of more of a low-key impromptu raft off at a local bay here that we all go to every weekend. But if you're not from here, you're not going to know what it is. And, Myrick, it's kind of like your guys is coving out, or when you go to Cumberland, you go to Harmon Creek. Like, we have that version here, and nobody knew it existed, and it's honestly 10 times bigger than what exists in a lot of parts of the country. So it was cool because we get all these, we told everyone Sensations come raft off on Saturday, and it was probably like 30 or 40 of our customers that came. But then there was probably 200 of random people that are just there every weekend. So to these customers, they just thought, how did they get everyone here for this party? Like, there's hundreds of boats out here. And it that's every Saturday.
The party.
Exactly. So the Sun Run has been an awesome success. The city got really behind us this year. They're going to throw more money at it to sponsor it. We closed down more streets this year, and we'll be announcing our dates for that soon. But I fully expect that we're going to have another big year in terms of probably 100 and I'm going to guess between 150 to 175 people register, maybe push, hopefully 125 to 150 show up, and just continue to do it right. Pump up the community, build the brand, and get these customers engaged with each other and our employees. It's unbelievable to watch an employee who stands here, builds these boats every day, watch a customer roll up, and the customer, like a good customer of ours, Randy Wolf, right? He let an employee ride on his boat for that run, and that was last year. And then this year he came back and he found that employee and was like, "Get on my boat, you're coming with me." They just become friends. Like, that is the coolest thing for us to create an environment that enables that, honestly. So the Sun Run, we're excited for it again. We're going to do it bigger and better this year. And we're already planning it. We should have the dates announced pretty soon here.
That's awesome. Make sure you let us know so we can help you spread the word, and love to come out and join you.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah,
please do.
So with that, you guys have recently broken ground on your new facility. You tell us about that?
Yeah, this is something, if you came in the factory, guys, and you talk to like my coworker, Jeff Love, or some of the guys who've been here for 10, 20 years, whatever, you'll hear them say they were always talking about opening a new factory. They own property over here, building never got put up, whatever, economy crashed, that happened. But recently, since I've been here, pretty much, when I was hired, Joe was pretty much told me, "You're going to take my day-to-day jobs. You're going to take them off my plate. I'm going to focus on putting up a new building so we can expand production and grow this company and blow it up." And I was like, "All right, let's do it." And here we are, 2 years later, roughly, and they broke ground on the property that just a few months ago, cleared, probably 15 of 20 some acres that we have. And actually just this week, as we speak today, probably they're pouring concrete. So the goal is to put that building up by the end of this month, early 2024, get it stood up. So that way, when the ground starts freezing and it starts snowing, we can have the guys work on the inside of the building and do the build out. And hopefully roughly by the end of this year, right around that timeline, we're going to be able to take our glass shop, our prep shop, our assembly shop, plastics and engineering, and move them into that new facility. And instantly, day one, we're going to have the ability to produce more boats. Obviously, we have to scale into that, but it's going to be a huge opportunity for a lot of guys here to grow. It's going to be a huge way for us to potentially build more boats. And honestly, it's just kind of well overdue. Those buildings we were in, we got our use out of them, man. They did good. They've been around forever. There's no more band-aiding it. You gotta go somewhere and start fresh. And it's a big
walking through there and being like, well, this is all right. Then you walk in like, oh man, I could tell this was an add-on, over the years. And then when they were talking about, hey, we want you to build this boat, and they're like, well, that'll add more time because we got to move these molds out and bring those molds in. And you're like, oh, I get it. Makes more sense when you're there and you see it all, to where like why you don't have as many models as because they have the molds and they can do it, but it's going to, take longer, and then you're going to make less money and all that stuff. So yeah, but it's neat. And the fact that however many boats have been built in that building, there right alongside the road is got to be astronomical. Do you know a number of how many boats Sunsation has built ever? I mean, it's kind of, what are we talking?
It's hard. I'm gonna guess it's got to be pushing 1,000 up there. I mean,
yeah, that's what I was
we built hundreds of aggressors, hundreds of rockets, hundreds of 288s and 32s. The F4 and the 36s,
200 CCXs.
200 CCXs. Yeah, it's a big number, man.
Yeah. That is a big number, and especially when you watch these guys in the care that they take in laying the glass in them and everything. I mean, it's literally not somebody that doesn't care. It's they've got mirrors, and it's like an army of guys sitting there, and they're rolling, and they got a mirror looking around a corner and making sure it's all hand laid in there perfectly. It's neat to watch.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
The building's going to be a huge opportunity for us. And I think for Joe and those guys, like, I got to give them a shout out and credit, because I see what they're going through to get this building up. I see what they've struggled through to get to this point, and it's a huge risk, man. Like, these guys, we're here day to day running the show and trying to help keep boats moving out the door and keep customers and dealers happy and whatnot. And they're off fighting their own battles, trying to get a building stood up and deal with the city commission and deal with permits and grants and hiring and all this. So it's a huge risk. What's going on over there, man?
He's got doggy MMA going on.
Dog fight going on over my shoulder here on the couch. It's because there's usually kids laying on the couch and everything, but now I've told the kids to get out of here because they're going to be loud. So the dogs have came in and taken home. It's a shit show. That's what it is.
They sound like killers. What are they?
Oh yeah, they're just playing. It sounds way worse than it looks. It's a pug and 2 French bulldogs. It's not like Rottweilers or anything. It's like me. My bark's way worse than my bite. Yeah, but yeah, and going back to what you said about the risk and everything they're doing. I mean, literally, they could probably just be like, okay, we want to sell this company and we go off and retire. But instead, they're building it bigger, better, want to produce more and all this. And it's not necessary for them because these are some humble guys. It's not like they want to go out and buy Maseratis and stuff like that. Right. They want to, keep their community rolling, and all these guys that they've had work for them forever, they're like family to them. So that's neat. I mean, it's not like they're, off building $10 million mansion somewhere. They're putting their money back into their business and making sure that there's going to be more sensations being produced. So it's neat.
Yeah, that's a great point. So Myrick, I mean, you've driven almost everything, and obviously being Sensation's largest dealer, you're very versed in the 32, 34, and 40. Mm-hmm. Run down the differences between each boat as you know them.
Well, obviously the bigger they are, the more people you can haul, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you feel a huge difference in the way they perform. One of the things that I always think about when I run a boat is how in control I can keep it even in rough water. And that's one of the beautiful things about the 32. And I don't want to discredit the 34 when I'm talking about the 32, but it's more nimble, but you got to think it's not as wide as the 34. So when you get into that cross wake, the 34 might roll around a little bit more, but it's also taller because of the amount of space that you have. So your center of gravity is a little bit higher and all that. So it kind of, it rolls around a little bit more, but the bottom of the 34 is really unique. It has, it doesn't have a true keel in the very back. It has like a U shape with 2 separate keels, and it really helps for turning. And it turns really sharp. It's nice. So, 32 will surprise you because of the level, flat running performance that you actually, the way that I'll run a 32 is I'll trim it up until I can hear the engines raise at RPM without the boat going any faster. And then I'll bump it down 2 little clicks and just say, leave it there. That's where this boat loves to run the best. It's got a little bit of not a rooster tail, but just a little bit of prop wash thrown up, and you can do anything you want with it. You might do some load disbursement with the tabs, or if you have a strong wind, what happens is normally when, say, the wind's coming off your starboard side, you might turn the wheel to the right and you're not even realize it. So you'll drag that starboard tab and kind of just level it out a little bit, but it runs really flat, really level. And it's cool. I ran one with the 400s on it the other day, the V10s, and I don't think that I'd ever want anything with more power. The 450s were cool, but I like the production motors on the 32 a little bit more than the racing motors. Brett might be mad at me for saying that, but because we're all about performance. But, in those boats, they're capable of 80 miles an hour, some power packages. but I really like the 72 to 74 mile an hour range in the 32. The 34, obviously, the size is bigger. It's a little bit roomier up front for the girls if they want to sit on those front seats. But me being a short guy, it's a taller boat. So, seeing over the dash and stuff like that isn't as easy. But it performs well. It has a little bit more bow rise than the 32. But, we call it a 34, but if you put it next to a 32, it's giant compared to it. I mean, it almost feels like it'd be a 36 footer compared to a 32. But the 40 is awesome. I really love it. I mean, when you get in it and you feel how nice, I mean, I don't want to discredit like Nortec or whatever, but when you look at the hard top and all the stuff going on in the hard top, instead of it just like similar to what he was saying with the hard top, how intricate it is. I'm talking about speakers built in, lights built in, and all this like little drops that are nice for when you're rigging it for the wireway and stuff like that to go through. But it adds structure to it, so you don't feel it like shake around and stuff like that. The 40 is awesome. I mean, it's a missile too. It with 450s on it. It'll run, I think, 83 miles an hour or something like that. But wind doors on that one, I really love the wind door option. And when you get into one of the boats that Dave has been part of designing, it's like the coolest stuff. It's like a little hinge or a little latch that you won't find anywhere because they make it themselves. And then instead of having it to where it like locks into the wall across it, they've found a gas shock that works that locks it out there. And you literally, once you show the customer one time, they're like, oh, this is so cool. I don't have to reach over it. And there's a lot of cool features when it comes to that because their design work and all of that is unbelievable. But yeah, the performance of the 40 is great. We've been working on some CG stuff just to try to get the weight back a little bit, and they're getting better. But the straight line is great. You put it into a turn, it leans nice, but it has a little gallop, so we're getting that out of it. But I drove one the other day that had Brett and I took it out. I think it had 400s on it. And it was another unbelievable boat. It was red and white and black, and it was nice too. So yeah, I think I've only been in 2 of the 4, maybe 3 of the 40s, and they're getting better, and they're awesome. I mean, and the rigging and everything, and the cabin's nice, and I don't know what else to say other than they're awesome.
No,
those are all nice things, man.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate enough to get to drive them all, everything from MTI, Nortec, Statement, and I don't like dissing any other products, but when you get into them and you feel the fit and finish and the combing pads, and we did one, so the not too long ago, we put like a crazy stereo in a 34, and I mean, it makes your eyes, like whatever, twinkle or shake, so. But when you get in there and we're adding to their system. But when you get under there and you see all of the work they've done, and basically it's under the sink down below or the console down below, and we can add stuff right to it. So we'll get another JL amp, we'll hop off another one, we'll find their distribution, and guys that know that what they're doing, it makes it easy for us to add to it. So we'll basically grab another set of RCAs off the head unit, put another amp in, and it's not like we have to redesign or take everything out. It's just as easy as throwing some more speaker wires in there, get some RCA cables, get the power off something else. And this guy just went from like a badass stereo to your eyes shaking, the kind of less stuff. So it's they're always, whenever they say they want to add, I've put generators in them. Not that I want to do this stuff, guys, but we have really, I've put live wells in them. We've done all kinds of stuff, but it's always easier for us to do it. Like put a fuel tank in, put a little Panda generator under the seat, stuff like that the customer wants. So we'll do it. And it's always great to work in there because they've thought of a lot of stuff. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, for shootout week, my team and I, we go out there for, used to be 11 days, but we've extended to 12. So we have a day to decompress after all the crowds have gone. And so Brett Manier at Performance Boat Center has always, for the last few years, been super generous to let us go play on a Sunsation. And for the last couple 3 years, it's been a 32, and we always have such a blast because everybody's off the lake, all the bars are wide open, we go out and just kind of have a time, right? And so, but this year he and we love the 32. I always say when I'm driving, I'm like, oh, this is what I could have, back in Lake Havasu.
It's my dream boat. It really. When I tell people that, they're like, really? I'm like, you got to be realistic. It still
right,
is.
Yeah.
It still is a $350,000 to $400,000 boat, depending on your options. But never will I be able to afford a 1.5 million, or do I want to spend $1.5 million on a boat? So you got to dream realistically. So go ahead, Ray.
Yeah. But this year, Brett was kind enough to let us go play with the 40, and good Lord, I mean, what a difference that boat is. I mean, it's just a no-brainer. I mean, just the extra size and just
the seating, the wind doors, that hard top. Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's kind of like we're at this point right now where the 32, like I said, we hit 200 of them, right? We've learned a lot throughout that. And if you look at 32.001 versus 50 versus 100 versus 150, now 200, there's just massive changes that come to them. And, we play this game of like, what more can we add? You guys want to keep the boat price reasonably, right? Like we try our best to do that. We can't keep throwing more options and more options. So I like to think right now, as much as everyone like asks us to build a new model and there's rumors out there of all that kind of stuff, we're truly in this phase right now of refining the product we have, working with guys like Myrick, Aaron and Dave and Kyle are, they take the feedback seriously. Like they truly do. They lay under these boats, they listen. They know that these guys at the Ozarks, like people like Myrick and Rusty and Michael Hall and Brett, you guys use our boats more than we ever have or ever will. Like, it's snowing and icy 6 months of the year here. A lot of the times we're good at building them and we've got that process dialed in, but it's different when you get behind the wheel and when you run it. So for us, we, and me specifically, like when you hear feedback, whether it's from a customer who's coming from a wakeboard boat and took his 32 out, or a guy who's coming from a staggered engine cigarette coming into a 32 or a 40, whatever, you got to take all the feedback seriously. And we're kind of in this phase right now where, there's changes that are going to come to the 34 and 40 you're going to see next year that are going to be huge steps up from what we've had in the past. The 32s, minor tweaks, fit and finish, continuing to just make it worth every dime that people are asking. And it's by far our best selling boat. We just shipped for 40s. We just shipped, I think, our 18th build or 19th build out. I think it was 18. We just shipped it out this morning, actually. It's on its way down to South Florida. Tim Gallagher is going to take delivery of it. It's got trip 500Rs. So first 500Rs we put on a 40, and it ran awesome. Like a lot of the stuff Myrick's been working with the guys on, they tried to implement. They're making slight tweaks every build to try to see what works and what doesn't. And we've got another 40 coming up starting next Monday, actually. So, it's not our most popular model. It's something we're still trying to gain some traction with. But, it's an easy step up. Like Myrick said, the amount of people that are on their second or third 32, there's just as many people that are jumping from 32s to 34s or 34s to 40s. And those are big jumps, man. Like those are, like you said, Myrick, like that person buying a 32 versus the person buying a 40 often are in very different points in their life and their career and everything. So, well, you could buy two and a half 32s for the price of a 40. So it's, you could fill your whole, if you got a 4-wheel dock, it makes a big difference when you're spending $950 or $350 or $400, whatever it is. I'm no salesman, but so don't mark my words that this is how much they cost, but I know approximately how much they cost. So, and I mean, it's funny that when we have family day, and it's like you were just saying about how lucky we are to get to drive them as much as we do, whether it's a boat that we're getting in for a trade-in or whether it's a demo that we have, it's usually that's the boat that I'll hope that Brett lets me take. I was like, hey, can I borrow a boat this weekend? Then I kind of like hope he doesn't give me a pontoon boat. They'll be like, yeah, take the, well, tri-tune, sorry.
I don't want to screw up for him. But he'll say, he'll go, yeah, we take that 32 CCX. I'm like, yes, this is perfect, and the kids love it. And I can remember Preston, and I think it was just Preston jumping off the top of it when he was a little kid, like, maybe since I've worked there 10 years, he would have been 5. So he'd probably been 6 years old, jumping off the top, they were shooting pictures, and think there was
same with Carter.
Yeah. Yeah. He was like 5 years old. We got a picture of him jumping off with his hair flying.
And Ray, like you were saying, I think the cool thing about like the 32 is like a guy like Myrick, who's driven more boats than I could even count probably, and different styles and kinds for his whole life, right? Yeah. He loves the 32. It's equally just as much fun for somebody who drives cats every day or is coming from a V bottom of any kind, as it is for guys transferring from wakeboard boats and twin engine pontoons over to the center console market. It's turnkey. It's easy to drive. It's something that, you can get anyone in, and within an afternoon, they're feeling comfortable and confident in it. And I just don't know if that boat exists anywhere else. And that's why we've done so well. And that's why we're on 200 now.
Well, absolutely. Right. And especially out by me on the West Coast, for years, the deck boat was the boat of choice to have a bunch of people on the same boat and go from point A to point B to C to D. And I don't have to tell you, Ryan, the Sensations are coming west heavy. I mean,
oh yeah,
you can get in the shade.
Yeah, there's a lot of them out there anymore, and it's cool to see. And people are like Myrick said, people are turning heads, seeing what's that, and how do they have as many people on their boat as we do on the deck boat? And it's
why are they faster?
we went out there last year. We did Myrick and those guys. We stayed with them for the Desert Storm Shootout, and that was my first time going to Havasu, and it had been pretty much the last place on my, I'll call, poker run bucket list of places I haven't been to in the country yet. So when we went out there, I just didn't really know what to expect. And, I think, I was with Myrick and Rusty and Bill Meyer, and I was just telling them, I'm like, guys, like, this is insane. Like, this is the market. This is untapped out here. This is the next wave for us. And since that time, I'm pretty sure, I think they sold a 32 that weekend there. I think we sold another one since then. And we just started one in production, a 32 with twin 500Rs for a Havasu customer. And I fully believe we're going to be spending a lot more time out there. That cat wave is going to transition. The guys with the old eliminators that are spending 20 grand a year to keep them running they're going to see the value in this boat, and it's there. Every dime of value is in that boat. So
yeah, no, absolutely. And like you said, you have quite the dedicated team that puts these boats together, so much so that you guys have a program, the Sunsation Nation.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
That's something that the term Sunsation Nation is not new. It's not something we just coined in the last few years. It's something that, came about from the community of owners. And before you guys say it, no, we did not copy off Skater Nation. People call us out online for that all the time and say we're ripping them off. No,
Skater guys always want to call people out.
But we, there was a Facebook group that existed, and it was one of the first things I found about First Sensation owners. And a lot of people had posted in there hashtag Sensation Nation and hashtag Sensation Family. And, as I was working here with Brad within, last year, it was about this time last year, actually, Brad was leaving to go do Scrapyard Media full time. And I was going to start taking over the marketing day to day here. I kind of just told him, I'm like, what's our story? What is the story we're telling here? Like, what's happening? We can't just keep posting pretty photos of boats running. I'm sorry. I'm too bored of that. And at the end of the day, that's not getting anyone really that excited. Like, the amount of times you guys both probably just scroll right by a $1 million boat that is gorgeous running, it's great, right? Something it has its place, but it's not everything. So we kind of pitched this idea to the guys where we wanted to take a little spin and use Brad's content skills and my storytelling skills and tell the story of what's happening here. And, some of it's a little corny and cheesy in terms of like, we do produce it, we do set things up, but a lot of it's just raw on what's happening. And we've had fun. We've done 12, we're pushing, I think 12 episodes on the year. And we're really, it's cool because the people who build these boats every day, right? Like nobody knows who builds, most other brands. I'll say that. I'll leave it at that. Mm-hmm. And here we're kind of making these customers and our employees the star of this movie that exists in the Sensation world. And it's just absolutely fulfilling. And for me, I'm a storyteller and a marketer, and I love video and content creation. So that's always been something that I've wanted to do. Day to day, my job is not telling the story. My job is sales, operations, marketing stuff here at Sensation. But I have a lot of fun being able to kind of get a big picture of what's happening in this company, from events to customers to employees to production, and trying to compact it into a story we can tell every month. And pretty much our goal with that is, we're still trying to find our format. I do not think we've nailed down exactly what that looks like, but we've gotten nothing but good feedback. We've sold boats from this series. We've highlighted people that deserve their opportunity to be highlighted and their story told. And, I just kind of we're going to put our head down going into next year, hopefully produce more of that content, and just keep it rolling and see where it leads. I would love to see it turn into something that gets put onto a bigger platform, or in front of a bigger audience, because I got to be honest, guys, like, I don't know if you've picked your head up and looked around, but a lot of people don't know what we're doing over here. A lot of people do not understand this world. And not that I want to change it and shine a lot of light on it, but at the end of the day, if it means that it's good for Sensation and good for our employees and our customers, we're going to tell that story. You know?
Same reason we do the Boats and Bros podcast. It's exactly the same reason. People want to talk about boats. I mean, everybody asks, like, is it a big deal? It's like, no, you just basically talk like you do all the time. It's not hard when that's all you do. So,
well, that's the thing. People seem to like the behind the scenes stuffs, right? So with that program, it shows that, like just the last episode, I was talking to Myrick about what he went through on winning world championship in Key West, and hearing that point of view from
a person in the boat,
straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak, and that's always is interesting to people, whether they're invested or not. Is just a cool aspect.
It's the best. I mean, people buy, being a marketer and a salesperson, people buy products, but people buy people at the end of the day. They buy brands. If you create this connection as if you're a family, and, I had heard people tell me Baja had like the closest community of owners back in the day. They were like the crazy boaters, and they were all very tight, and they all ran together. And I've kind of been told that's what we're doing now. And I think it's cool too, because we have a market that we sell our boats to now, right? And these are business owners and entrepreneurs and successful people that have worked hard, and they can afford these boats. And, we have this whole segment of our market, hundreds of boats that we've built. And we can't sell those sport boat guys more boats. We can barely service them at this point. But, when I started here, I said, we're not going to turn our back on this whole community of people just because we don't build that product. And it's really fun because Sensation Nation and the Sun Run and everything we do brings those groups of people together. And at the end of the day, whether you're a guy in Northern Michigan running a 288 and just wrenching on it in your spare time and trying to keep Band-Aid and keep it alive, or you just took delivery of a 40 CCX, these are all Sensation owners. They have that one thing in common at the end of the day. And, they're a lot more alike than they think. Like I said, the content is an awesome way to bridge that gap and tell our story, shine a good light on what we do here. And it's just fun, man. Like, we do a lot of cool stuff. Why would you not want to show that to people? Like, it is a blast. We're blessed with what we do, guys. I mean, every day I wake up and tell myself that in a different way. Not always that every day is like great or anything. I'm not always looking forward to coming to work, but I mean, most of the time I would much rather be doing what I'm doing now than what I was doing 5 years ago. Let's just say that.
Kudos to that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So with that, I mean, you're not in the shop building boats, but you do have a project of your own going on right now.
Oh yeah, man, I do. Let me just pan over here real quick. Right there, boys.
That's Ryan's personal project boat.
That is a 1999 Sensation Aggressor that I purchased last May, I think, and I drove to New York to pick it up. And I'll be honest, guys, like, if I didn't work at this company, if I didn't have access to the guys in this company, to this facility when I need it, I would be so far in over my head on this project. It's unbelievable. I bought this boat kind of just out of pure passion. I watched some of the guys last year, young guys, go out, spend 10, 15 grand on a crappy old Aggressor or Rocket and build it back from scratch and do better now than it was when it left the factory back in the 90s. And I'll be honest, that just excited the heck out of me. I've worked with my hands a lot in my life, but most of my life has been spent more on the business and operation sides of anything that I've done. But I've always kind of felt like there's something else that I want to try and get into. And this place just really ignited that for me. And so I picked this boat up and I ran it all summer. I did nothing to it when I got it. It's bone stock for the most part. And I just had a blast with it and learned to drive a 24/7 hull, which are notorious for being a little squirrely. But I'll tell you what, I would not change it. I wouldn't buy any other boat right now. And this winter, we took off the drive about a week ago. We took the motor out last week. And I'm about to start tearing into the floor, rip the floor out, probably redo the transom, and we're going to build this thing better than when it was new. And I'm excited because I'm pretty sure I'm going to have the nicest Sensation aggressor that exists at the Sun Run next August. And I'm saying that now so that way come June when I'm slow behind on this project, I motivate myself to get it done and make sure it looks good.
I was talking shit. I better get going. I got to show this thing off at the Sun Run.
That's awesome,
fun, man. It's cool to see what the guys did back in the day, how they built these boats. It's like when you peel off the headliner, you're peeling back a panel and you're looking, you're like, that was Wayne who decided to drill this random block into the side as a support over here. And it's like, the boats have come so far, and I just think I'm going to learn a lot. And I get to, work with the guys in the shop, and they teach me their skills. I help them in other ways.
That's awesome. You get to learn a lot. Learn a lot and then have a prize at the end.
Right.
Yeah, very excited to see it come to completion. So yeah, thanks for asking, Ray.
Yeah, of course.
I'm dreading it right now, but
tell us what it had as a stock boat, and then what you're going to put into it when it's going to be done.
So it had a 454 in it, and then it was in Utah for most of its life, and it was cool because I pulled the original boat file when I saw it for sale. I asked it for the hull ID, and I went and found the original file, pulled it out, opened it up, saw all the originals. I know the guy who doesn't work at Sensation, but he
it's not what you know.
Yeah, exactly. But so it still has a 454 in it. At some point during the last 5-10 years when it was out in Havasu, somebody made it fuel injected. They put some hardened marine headers on it. And honestly, for me, my main goal with the motor is to really just get it up and running really well. Make sure it runs top notch in the spring. And then I'm more focused on the structure, the floor, the transom, the interior, the paint, all that stuff this year. But it's kind of cool because a few of the guys here at the shop, we're all kind of going together, and we're all going to go in on a barn or a garage up the road here. And we're going to call it the boat barn, and we're all bringing our Sensations there, and we're all just going to work on them. The guys can do side jobs for old Sensation customers and make a little money on the side. For me, I just get the access to all of this knowledge of these kids who are really good at doing what they're doing and passionate, so they can help me. We're going to make some upgrades to it.
Come over here, and what do you think about this? Oh yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. I mean, it is. People say it's like drugs, and I kind of laugh at that because I'm like, no, like I think this will be the only IO that I owe. This will be, a next boat I really want to get is like an old 21 or 24 skater and restore that when I'm done with this. But they're all laughing at me. They're like, dude, this is a drug. You're going to be taking that motor out every winter. You're going to be polishing the bilge and I'm like, yeah, maybe. But either way, man, it's fun. It's exciting. And I just find a lot of personal passion in taking something that these guys did that long ago, bringing it back, refreshing it. And it's just a perk of working here that we get the opportunity to do that.
Aaron has one too, doesn't he? Doesn't he have a Sensation?
Yeah, so Aaron's got a 32 Dominator. I think he put 525s in it last year. It's got to be one of the cleanest ones that exist. And he runs it at, I think it runs about 93, 94 miles an hour. And
wow.
He runs it hard as hell, man. It's a beautiful boat. A lot of the guys here have rocket or aggressors. Kyle has the 288. And again, we're kind of in this little cult up here where you can drive up and down any road in this county and you'll see a Sensation tucked next to someone's barn. You'll see it inside their garage. They're everywhere. And if you have one, you're kind of in the cool kids club here at this point. We're just, I'm pretty sure we've driven up the value of these boats solely by our content, by getting out to the events, by, you got guys who are like, oh, I got a nice Baja or a nice Donzi or whatever. And they're like, I just want a Sensation because it looks like you guys are having so much fun. And you're like, you're not wrong, man. We are.
It matters. It matters.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. I can't wait to see the final product and keep us updated on the progress.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressures. Just until the sun run.
We'll get it done in one way or another. I mean, money fixes everything. I just don't know how happy my wife's going to be about that. And I could have went out and bought a completed, fully restored boat, but for some reason, the broken down one in upstate New York, that the tire fell off the trailer 10 miles down the road, and I had to change an axle. Like, the whole process has been pretty much as hard as you can experience. And the winter's going to be tough, but that's what we do here in Michigan. And, we're very unique building boats up here. I know, Myrick, you guys obviously get winter too, but it's here it's just brutal, and we have to fill our time with something, and there's not enough snow to sled most of the time, or the ice to ice fish. So we just keep doing the boat stuff, and it's a good time to get the boats up and running. So I'm excited, man. It's going to be a project, though.
That's cool.
That's awesome. Well, good for you. And again, like I said, keep us updated. Definitely want to see the progress and the final product, right? So
definitely.
Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. This has been yet another episode of the Boats and Bros podcast with Ryan Wenk of Sunsation Powerboats in Michigan, and my bro Myrick Coil, the Performance Boat Center, world champion, national champion. And Merry Christmas to you guys. It's good seeing you.
Thanks for coming on, Ryan.
Yeah,
thanks for having me, guys. I can definitely say I looked at everyone you did before, and I'm like, well, I am the most unknown one here, so this is awesome.
Sensation Nation. Sensation Nation.
Sensation Nation. Woo!
We're here, baby.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Please remember to subscribe, like, rate, and share the episodes of Boats and Bros podcast, and we will see you on the next one. Thank you, gentlemen.
This podcast is powered by Speedboat Magazine. Subscribe now at speedboat.com for 9 power-packed current issues a year direct to your mailbox.